Welcome to the Grow Fast podcast, where we talk with leading sales, marketing, and personal growth experts about how companies can accelerate sales, optimize marketing, and grow their businesses fast. Let's go. Hi, Egil. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Mark? Great to be here.
Yes, I think you're my first guest from Norway. You're in Norway, yeah?
I'm in Norway, so that's great to hear. I mean, Norway is a beautiful country. Have you ever been?
I have not. No. I'm waiting for an invite, man.
Anytime.
Yeah. No, I've spent 20 plus years bouncing around Asia, living in places like Singapore, Hong Kong, Japan, Taiwan, and then traveling all over the region. Been to Europe quite a few times, but never been to Scandinavia, unfortunately. So we got to get up there. And I guess this is the time of the year to go. What's the best time of the year?
It depends. I'm personally a summer person. So what is beautiful this time of year is like sunlight all day long, all night long. So it never sets really. It doesn't really get super hot compared to the rest of the world. So it's sort of a chilly. You are in Fahrenheit, so we would be in mid 20 for Celsius. That would be something.
So low 70s. Low 70s. Yeah. No, that's awesome.
So I mean, but summer, I mean, winter is great as well. Then go skiing. It's a bit darker, obviously, but it depends on what type of activities you want to do. But you definitely want to go outside.
Okay, and if I go to Norway, what's the one food that I have to try?
Oh, what is the one food you have to try? I would say you need to. It depends if you want to do fine cuisine, Nordic food, local. Really, really, really top notch. You can go to any kind of restaurant. There is a ton of them. If you want to go kind of very, very different, reindeer is really good. Elk is really good. It's
reindeer.
That is
you eat Santa's reindeer.
I know. I probably shouldn't tell, but it's true. You can actually get that meat in the local store. It tastes really good actually. So maybe that's. Don't tell your kids though.
No. There's no Christmas this year, kids. Because, it's funny. So I'm based in Seattle, and this has nothing to do with the Grow Fast podcast. But if you are visiting Seattle, traditionally the two foods that you'd want to try would be our salmon, because we have a lot of Washington, but also Alaskan salmon, and then also the Dungeness crab, which are just amazing. And we actually have a fairly large, traditionally, we used to have a fairly large Scandinavian, Norwegian, and Swedish community here. And I think there's something called pickled herring and some other things that they will force you to eat.
Swedish, but it's still, and actually I lived in Seattle a couple of years back. So 2008, I was living in Redmond. So it's...
oh, no kidding. Were you working with Microsoft or something? Or
I work on site with Microsoft.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, hey, the Grow Fast podcast is all about helping companies grow their businesses fast, helping individuals with their personal and professional development. And I think I mentioned to you, you're probably the first guest from Norway, but you're also, I think, maybe just the second guest to talk about software development and, how to kind of develop software in an effective manner. Which, if you're going to develop any kind of software program, or your business is trying to deploy something, that release cycle is really important to grow your business or that project quickly. So I'm tying it all in together with the theme.
You are spot on there. So happy to chip in there and share some of our viewpoints in this context.
Please. So why don't you give us a little background about like why this is important and what are some of the key challenges?
So why is this important? So obviously everybody that is in I would say most businesses today are related to software one way or the other, right? So software is core of your operation. So, and I think there is two pieces to this. Number one, I think that most leaders out there, business leaders, can relate to that. Software engineering is a bit of a black box, right? It's sort of, it's important. It's really complicated. You have really smart people working on the software. What they do is sort of a bit kind of a mystery to some extent, but what you really care about is to get this out in production, get it in front of customers, really starting to get that sort of value creation happen for you. And also, I guess we can all relate to there are darker side of the story where there is incidents impacting customers, impacting the business. And there is this kind of concern that if we go too fast, are we breaking something? And if it breaks, does it really, how does it impact our customers and business? So I think this is exactly what we do at Unleash. And we are sort of, what we are doing there is balancing the speed and risk in a way that really allows you to get the best of both, right? Let's say. So what you care about is you want to make sure to put the software out there in front of your end users as often as possible. And why do you want to do that? You want to do that because you want to learn and get that feedback and the conversation going, the kind of the learning cycle, flywheel of learning back to your software team, so they can continue to kind of, this experimentation. Does it work? Does it doesn't work? Is it sort of does the metrics tell us what they're supposed to do? I mean, there is a ton of B2C companies super focused on commercial metrics. May very well be the same for business, B2B kind of companies. So this is a lot of kind of small experiments that is happening there. And if you're not doing this quick enough, you can sure tell that your competitors is doing so. So this is sort of probably on the top of your mind. Are we getting the new stuff out in front of my customers quick enough? And the second piece is also, if you delay that to put it in front of your customers, what is happening is that somebody needs to kind of think what they believe your end users are looking for and guide the software development team doing so, not really guided by the end users. And this is difficult, right? Because I'm the product manager, I'm the business leader, I'm the sales executive, whatever. And I'm trying to communicate back what you, Mark, is looking for in my new software update. Instead of putting that new software update in front of you. So that is one piece of the puzzle. And of course, also, if you think about it, if I'm delaying building up sort of a bigger and bigger and bigger change and put that in production, the risk of having incidents, meaning it goes down, it doesn't really work, it doesn't really whatever, that is really increasing as well. So basically, when you start thinking about what you want to do, you want to kind of ship those small increments as quickly as possible. And how can that be possible? Well, that's what we offer as an Unleash company. So there is multiple vendors out there. It's called feature management. And basically what it does, it's allowed its software development to create and build and continue to push these changes into their code. That's what we call that. And then in production, decide who gets that new feature or part of that new feature. So what that means from practical terms is that I can have my software. You are a customer of mine. Let's assume that there is also Justin is another customer of mine. And I know that I have a trustful relationship with you. I know that you're a very engaged kind of customer. I can decide to say, let's keep Justin on the old version of my software. But Mark, he is getting my new version. And that allows me for you to test this, to see it, to build confidence, provide the feedback, while Justin keeps running on the old version because of, I don't know, Justin is maybe more regulated. Maybe he is not as close to myself as a business. Maybe he has even experienced some issues in the past. So you want to kind of pet him a bit to make sure he doesn't really experience that again. So this basically allows you a whole new level of possibilities on moving fast. And I think that we can all relate to that these days. Moving fast is basically what you're looking for. You need to always kind of get that experiment up in front of your end users. Does it really make any difference? Does it, and continue to kind of learn as you go. Make sense?
Totally. And just so maybe I can kind of restate it to make sure that we're on the same page. Part of the whole Agile development kind of, framework or methodology is that you want to get features released as soon as possible, so that you can get that customer feedback to say, hey, yeah, this is what we were looking for. This is not what we're looking for, etc. From the business point of view, you also don't want us to hold up too many and wait too long and then release like on a waterfall kind of methodology and then find out that, oh my gosh, we got it all wrong or we've got some major errors there. So there's especially in most B2B applications, especially SaaS programs, the Agile methodology is much more, I guess, in line with business needs, customer needs. But traditionally, my understanding is that you have like different environments. So you'd have your dev environment, maybe your QA, maybe your staging, and then maybe your production environment. And what you do is you develop it, then you test it in QA, you put it into staging, and then you're doing kind of your last minute. Is like, does it all work? Does it crash anything? And it does, and it doesn't. And if you're feeling confident, then you hit the switch, and it goes out to production. It goes to everybody in production. But what you're saying is you can release to production or prod selectively for different customers. How do you do that?
Oh, then we can start being very technical. But basically what it means is that I, as a developer, I maintain this sort of, I'm using a tool, basically, such as Unleash. And I keep those two versions of that application in parallel. Okay. And that is great until you have decided which one of those versions. So then you want to clean up. We have tooling for doing that. We can apply AI to kind of take that overload away from you. But basically what it allows you as a business leader also is that when you can go into my application and say, well, I need to make sure that this new super interesting feature that I'm marketing or whatever, I need to apply it to this cohort of users. Mm-hmm. So what it means is that in my application in this UI, you can very selectively create cohorts of early adapters, VIP type of customers, and even random population of your users, depending a bit on what type of strategies you want to use for releasing. Mm-hmm. And all of this happens magically behind the scenes.
Okay.
And also what is super interesting here is, if you start thinking about it, you take away a lot of the cost side of things on the operations, on the QA side, because as you mentioned there, you have the QA part, you have the pre-production, you have staging. All of this costs you money. You are spending money to AWS. Yeah. And the harsh truth is, and also I'm getting a bit complicated here and technical here, but it's interesting to kind of think about, is that, so let's assume you want to have a environment that is very close to or the same as production. What does that mean? That means that you need to replicate all of the data from production into this pre-production environment. What does that mean? That means that these need to be in sync, because the production environment is basically data, meaning data that you as a user I'm storing this piece of information. I'm doing this pattern. This pattern is being recognized. All this happens real time, and all of this data needs to be replicated back. So this is a big hurdle on the engineering team, actually. You're spending a ton of money making sure this is in sync. That isn't needed anymore, right? So this is sort of stupid waste of money. So basically where you want to invest is you want to invest in what creates value for your software, and not kind of keeping stuff up to date, which doesn't really get up to date because it's just evolved so quickly.
So you mentioned, I think you mentioned QA and testing there. I have a question for you. So you have people, their title is software tester or professional tester, and usually they will run some kind of automated scripts or tests. And what I've found is that those are very helpful. But what I've also kind of insisted on our team is that, you know what, everybody has to spend a certain amount of time just using the platform, using the tool that we're developing, because you're going to uncover things that the automated scripts don't uncover. And it's frustrating for me that some stuff gets, shipped to production, and it's like an obvious thing, like, you attach a document and the document will not be attached, and they're like, well, how didn't we pick? Well, they didn't have in the script. Yeah. So could you talk a little bit about your experience and your recommendations versus in terms of automated testing versus actually just humans going through and using it, which is, what you'd get from the customers, because customers will tell you, man, we can't upload the file, right? But you feel like an idiot, right? So it'd be nice to catch you.
Right? You don't want the customer to tell you. No, you're 100% right. I'm not saying that you don't need that automated testing, that there is no purpose for those. Sure, that is sort of the first level of safeguard. But really what and also what feature management that we are delivering is able to provide for you is exactly what you're saying. Every new feature or every change of code that is going to your production environment, you can decide that this capability, this new change, is only available for my company, everybody in my company, maybe for a week, right? So you will always use the latest version. You will always use the latest version a week, 2 weeks. There is multiple ways and strategies to kind of how you want to do this, depending on your severity, your how risk type of risk appetite you have. And actually, it's like doing that, because you can just, I mean, even with the agentic AI coming into play, and you have AI robots doing this, I haven't yet seen that you can 100% create bug-free software. What you want to do is to have your people, have your team use the software, eat your own dog food type of thing, test it, use it, get familiar with it, and sort of you will probably uncover some of those corner cases. I mean, your example shouldn't be a corner case, but I think we're on the same page here, and really use that as a way for you to speed up and spend more time in your software investment on what creates value for your end users, and not fixing issues after it was released, because that is a big drain of waste.
Yeah, totally. Okay. So, and then what do any of your customers have concerns around data privacy, data protection, things
100%,
like that?
100%. It's coming more and more. This is true, and I think we are just ahead of a wave of more data awareness because of AI. So AI is of course also driving this awareness to a next level. So the beauty with this is also Unleash has designed this in a manner where the PII data never leaves your premises. So basically how we think about this is that, yes, there is a ton of data. Some of those data may be very kind of PII related or legislated or whatever. So let's design this in a manner where you stay in control as a customer. So all of our customers are in control. They keep it within their premises. We can go private cloud, hybrid cloud, public cloud, whatever, depending on what you're looking for, which means that, yes, there is a privacy or data concern, but because how it's designed and how we are kind of architected this application, it doesn't really, it's not a challenge anymore, because you are in control and you are kind of owning the data yourself.
Okay. Where are your customers?
It's all over. Our core market is US, so that's our focus market. We have them all over US. We also have them in Europe. We are also seeing in Australia. We are seeing them in Asia. I mean, the problem, the challenge we are talking about is a global problem. Every company that is delivering software, independent of if you're in Asia, if you are in US, if you're in Latin, if you have Europe, it's the same type of challenge. It doesn't really relate to, I mean, there are local legislation that kind of, as you mentioned, data privacy is slightly different in the Californian Act compared to HIPAA, compared to GDPR, compared to the Australian Act. It's slightly different, but the problem, the main problem that we're solving is the same. So it's a global problem that we sell, and it's a global product.
Okay. And where does it sit? Is it in the customer's cloud, or is this an external feature tool that they have to access and it sits on servers somewhere else, or how does that work?
Yeah, so for our point of view or our modeling, we can do anything. We can do private cloud. We can go your whatever private data center. We offer a standard SaaS solution also out of AWS. And we also have, if you want to kind of go very technical, capability to go hybrid, meaning parts in your environment, parts in mine. So it kind of depends on what is your operational appetite. Do you want to kind of do this stuff yourself? Do you want to kind of offload that for us? That's more kind of the traditional SaaS model. So, but we have a model that is super flexible for this point of view.
Cool. So let's talk about a little bit about how you're growing your business. Maybe give a little bit of background, when it started, where you're at, and where you're going to go.
Sure. So Unleash is an open source project, which means there is it started as a kind of a free project for the community. It was released back in 2015. Was never really intended to be a commercial project. It was basically built because of an engineering need, and the engineering need was exactly what we just talked about. So fast forward to 2019, this is when it started to really adopt in the developer community. So we started to have, let's say, a market pull. So this is when we decided to kind of, okay, is there an opportunity here? Is this a category? Is there a willingness to pay? Yada, yada, yada. So we formed a company. and we raised a seed round back in 2019, and then we started to build this commercially. So now we are more than 500 customers across the globe. We are the largest open source player in the market. So by far, we have closing in on 30 million downloads altogether. And we
of revenue or not investment revenue.
No, 30 million downloads of this application at the open source. So it's
I thought you said dollars. Okay.
No,
Okay.
I would get there. So and what else? We also are working with like large super enterprises. So Visa is a customer of ours. We have Samsung on the customer list. We have Wayfair. We have Prudential. We have Manulife out of Canada. So pretty kind of, and Lloyds Bank out of UK as well. So pretty big, nice logos that is sort of leaning towards us to sort of fast forwarding their software development process.
And how does your go-to-market work? Are you doing outbound, or because of where you're at and because you're open source, it's are you getting more?
I would say top down, bottom up. So we have the open source that is sort of the word of mouth, community driven. Sort of it just goes there, and developer is sort of a special breed of characters. They don't want to talk to sales; they want to talk to each others and the peers. So there's a ton of word of mouth happening in the open source community. But we also do outbound. So we have outbound going out for us, kind of dialing into kind of hot leads as well as cold leads. And also we have a ton of content. Content is important in the developer part of this market. So really kind of the curated, supportive type of content for software developers. And among those three, we sort of have this bottom up, top down type of entry into an account.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that we're challenged with is the outbound marketing landscape has changed so much. Now we're not selling a super technical solution, right? I mean, we're selling something that for non-technical users, and forget about emailing people or sending messages on LinkedIn and things, because it's just everybody's getting flooded with everything. You can't call people, so we're trying to figure out different activities and strategies that work. But what I'm hearing you say is because you are offering a technical solution, that's kind of, you've got to get the development or the dev team kind of involved at some point. That if you're providing helpful or, meaningful information, that's your kind of one of your go-to-market.
That's really what selling is all about. It's about understanding what problem you're solving and solve that for you, right?
Right.
It's not so much about me pushing a solution. It's more of understanding where are your challenges, what is top of your mind, and what is important for you to kind of accelerate whatever is important for yourself, maybe more personal career wise, or maybe more kind of a company wise, organization wise, and sort of attach yourself to those problems and really kind of provide valuable information and support along the way in order to kind of be a relevant partner in solving those. So that's also what we're doing. And the interesting part, and I'm not sure if you are doing this already, but sort of the digital world, of course, also allow you to get a lot of intent signals. So in the community, we can see who is active, who is sort of exploring this type of really deep tutorial on how to get started at X, Y, Z. And of course, when we know that they are exploring this, it's more likely that they would engage in a technical conversation saying, hey, can I offer you a half an hour with my technical support engineer to kind of go through some of those typical use cases that is, and of course, relevant to that type of tutorial you just went through. So I think it's about being relevant and identifying those challenges, problems, pains, whatever you want to call them. I've heard different flavors of the same, but it's about being focused on what are you trying to deliver as a value and problem solving for your peers and customers. And if you do that correctly, the money is following.
Makes a lot of sense. I'm curious though, because I think you said you had about 500 customers globally right now. Yeah. And it used to be, even with software, but it used to be, especially with more traditional product lines, that if you wanted to go to a new market, you'd have to go and set up a legal entity and, and hire somebody and do all of that. Yeah. And I know that you haven't created, I'm guessing that you haven't created, offices in all these different countries that you're doing business. So talk a little bit about the strategies, tactics, and challenges of selling globally with a limited footprint?
Oh, that is a good question, and it's a headache. I would say what is good is that there is a ton after COVID. I think, and I'm curious to what you think, but at least in our category, our kind of target personas, we are very digital first type of now. We are used to going on Zooms. We are used to kind of relate to each other in kind of a digital platform. So selling digitally actually works, and developers that we are selling into, developer and organization, are very digital by nature. And so it allows us to sort of serve one of the big challenges we have, obviously, culture, language barriers, time zone challenges. It's all of those. I wouldn't say we have figured those out perfectly. But then again, it allows us to a large extent have a pretty big footprint on the regions on our AEs, right? They serve a customer in Europe 1 hour and US is the second hour. And of course, we are meeting in person as well, but it's more of most of the work is happening digitally. So that's number one. And number two is also from a legal point of view. I mean, most people or most companies these days are pretty confident buying online software, right? So SaaS is pretty commodity already. So how we have decided to go by this is sort of, it depends on, are we going on your paper, my paper? So we are sort of also sort of narrowing in on a few kind of jurisdictions that we want to go to. So typically we sell out of US by a US entity. We sell to the rest of the to the globe by our Norwegian entity. And of course, we kind of have a handful of jurisdictions that we're saying we can do Berlin, we can do London, we can do New York, we can do Delaware, we can do Oslo, obviously, because this is our hometown. Nobody really cares about Oslo, so it doesn't really matter. And what else is it's a digital world out there, so it's more of kind of taking advantage out of that. And happily for us, most of our go-to-market activities is in the digital world. So obviously, when we're in trade shows, when we are in conferences, of course, it's travel required, but you can travel from New York to London easily like that, or to Oslo to SF easily like that. So it's sort of, the world is not that big anymore, right?
Yeah. What podcast do you listen to? Other than the Grow Fast podcast, of course, but
other than the Grow Fast, actually, other than being an engineering and a developer nerd, I am a political nerd. So I listen to this, and then there's politics. I'm not sure if you listened to it already.
Which one?
I think it's called and then there's politics.
And then there's politics. I haven't. No. Yeah, okay.
No. So it's a brilliant podcast. It's super good. It's I think it's the former something of probably Obama or Biden, maybe, that is sort of stepped out of sort of their being in staff, head of staff, and now doing kind of and podcast, basically going through every week sort of what is happening in the office, what is happening in the DC area. And you have a similar version that is based out of London, so you get sort of the European version. So that is maybe why my go-to podcast actually outside of tech.
And then there's in politics. Okay, I'll check that out. One of the podcasts I listen to is the All In podcast. And what I like about it is they talk about business. They also talk a lot about politics. And they have their best discussions are when they don't agree on something, that they have to kind of tease out the truth there. And so it's interesting. And it's funny because since I've started listening to them, almost all of them have swayed in their political kind of beliefs a bit to the right. And some have started out there, but some were very much on the left before. And there's this kind of pendulum, but even though that they're kind of swinging in the same direction, there's a lot of conversations. One of the conversations we have, though, that's not really related to politics, back to business in this whole digital world, is that, when are we going to have a first, $1 billion company that's AI only, or basically, one or two people and an AI? And I'm curious, what are your thoughts on that? Because you're seeing companies like Microsoft, AWS, they're just letting people go. And of course, they've got different dynamics and different reasons for doing that. Part of it is their quarterly earnings reports and all that kind of stuff. But part of it is they're like, hey, all these middle management positions, maybe we can be a little bit more efficient with them. And then some with the technical positions, maybe we can get the people who are staying to use AI to help them boost their productivity. What are you seeing in terms of this march towards singularity and having an AI only company that can be valued at $1 billion?
I think the obvious observation is AI is there, and AI is changing everything, and we're still sort of navigating how does this really impact ourselves. So one of the things that we are very focused in the engineering part of the spectrum. So, but I think it applies to the entire kind of operating, how do you operate your businesses. So I would say that there's a few kind of observations there. Number one, because of how AI operates, access to data gets easier. So what I mean by that is in the past you have your Salesforce and you had some other CRM, maybe you had your spreadsheets, and it was sort of it was a kind of a mess to keep numbers up to date kind of thing. But with AI, it seems like this data silo is going away. So that's going to be a massive production boost. The second part is also that we are seeing more and more of those AI agents being very specialized. I believe in specialty AIs, meaning this is what I do and I do it super good. And you and Mark as an individual can sort of interact with me in a very kind of voice or kind of prompt type of thingy. I'm not sure exactly what I mean, but I will be able to do and adapt and also interact with data or other agents in order to not only support what you are asking me to do, but also kind of pivot my direction along the way by learning. So I think we are seeing more and more learning. And I think the question here is basically, is there a space for humans in this picture, or is there not? I don't know, man, to be honest. I think there is. And I keep having this conversation with myself again and again. And I think it comes down to what type of world do I believe in and do I want to believe in? I think I think we as human beings, we need to feel purpose. We need to feel feel belonging. I think it's a big step for us to kind of move away outside of not having I don't have any purpose. I don't have any belonging. I'm sort of maybe spend most of my time with the family, which could be that new purpose in life. But I think that we are so attached to the value we feel we create part of a company that it's really, really hard to see that we as a society move that away. That doesn't contradict the fact that there is likely to be billion-dollar companies, probably not only AI, but probably with a very small headcount and supported heavily by AI. And my conclusion is basically I need to just use this AI as much as possible to learn where it really accelerate myself. And I think the question I'm asking myself is in this world, when we are moving in this direction, what is the authentic myself that is really hard to replicate using AI? And what parts of myself being a human being do I double down on? And where do I sort of go to AI? I'm not sure where your conclusion on this is, but I think this is, at least to my kind of point of view, my biggest question at the moment.
Yeah, I got, it's such a complex topic, but so let me just segment it. I look at some parts of society and I think that they're untouchable by AI, other than the fact that they can help make their job easier. So when I talk about, electricians, plumbers, marine mechanics, anybody who's doing like a traditional trade, their job may be affected by AI, but AI is not going to climb up in the attic and install the HVAC. Okay. So we can put all that stuff off. You could say, well, to counter that, I think the number one most common job in the US is a long haul truck driver. And when you have self-driving or autonomous vehicles or cars, that's going to change. But all those jobs, especially when people talk about, oh, what about the Lyft drivers, the Uber drivers? Well, those jobs didn't exist 15 years ago anyway. So it's like, society, there's always this ebb and flow. I mentioned we're in Seattle. We used to have a bunch of Scandinavians here, Swedes and Norwegians and some Danes. They're primarily in the fishing and timber industry. Guess what? those industries don't exist at the same level, right? I mean, it's just very different right now. It's highly automated and much limited. So things change. In the technical space, though, and even in the sales space, because you're getting like, AI agents who are doing sales development SDR work, and it's like, wow, and they're pretty darn good. I mean, they're pretty effective, and we're just getting started. So it's definitely an interesting time. And to be honest with you, I have 3 kids, and they're all adults or young adults. I'm like, guys, you gotta be aware of this, right? Because when Microsoft and Amazon just start making these layoffs, and you're working in that ecosystem, you could be next. So what's plan B? Yeah. So no questions. I do use AI though. It's funny. Like almost every day now, I'm getting in the habit of saying, okay, I'm working on this. What AI tool? How could I use AI to help me with this? And I track a couple of cryptocurrencies, for example, and I was doing it the old manual way, but I just put together, I just went to ChatGPT and said, what are the key metrics that are going to predict the future performance of these 3 different coins? And it gave some very specific, and I said, okay, can you put together a tracking process for these metrics so I can get a daily update? And it did it. And I'm like, I don't have to go to all and listen to, I can see. And that right away, that helps me, I hope, maybe as an individual. So I don't know. I just think it's kind of like the Wild West all over again. We're in this brave new world.
There's a lot of opportunity that's being created at the moment. So it's just kind of jump on the train and sort of explore the opportunities and it's
cool.
This is what is creating the next generation of wealthy companies.
Yeah. Last couple questions, and you're CEO of a company. I assume you travel quite a bit. You did mention some events around the world, and you've got entities in a couple different places, but you got customers everywhere. And those face-to-face meetings still are important, I'm assuming. I mean,
people we like relations. I trust you, and I see you in your face, and sort of I know how you are, and so definitely, I think that is not something you should underestimate. So traveling is a big part of building that relationship.
So you're a busy guy, you travel, you also mentioned you have family. And so what do you do to keep on top of your game? Because I believe that your greatest contribution to an organization, when I say you, I mean any individual, a lot of that comes down to your energy level, because if you have enough energy, then you can contribute more. If you are learning more, you can contribute more. So what do you do to optimize as an individual, optimize your energy levels or your learning and, I don't know, professional and personal development?
Curiosity. I would say curiosity is a big one. I think that we all, and I fully agree that if you want to contribute, you need to be in a healthy spot. You need to kind of be adapting yourself and never believe that you know the answer because you've seen it before, but it was a different flavor, it was a different time, it was a different context. Everything has changed since then. So I would say number one is staying curious, meaning spend quite a bit of time reading blog posts, listen to podcasts, kind of what is happening out there. Talk to people, kind of be curious when you meet people. What is on their mind? What is important for them? And stay healthy. I mean, get enough sleep. Sounds stupid, but it's so important. Make sure to stay healthy, meaning eat good, do some exercises for your body, and also make sure to remember that building a company, that is a marathon, that is not a sprint. So even though it's tempting to work 24/7, you probably need to kind of have some rest for yourself, and sort of, even when you are just laying there doing nothing, your brain is still kind of going through all of those stuff that you were thinking about in the past. So probably that's where you find about the best solutions on the biggest problems you have. So I think it's a normal kind of work-life balance type of thing. But of course, periods of time you are traveling and you're on the road constantly, and then you sort of pull a bit back and sort of get some space for your family and your loved ones as well. So I think keeping that in balance is important.
Totally agree with you on that. And just this last one on the travel thing, that to me personally, that was the most challenging, or still is the most challenging kind of time, where I'm traveling, so the travel takes up time. It also takes up energy. It can be exhausting, especially when you've got multiple time zones and potentially jet lag and things like that. But then you get there and you're like, hey, we got events, client meetings, maybe dinners, etc. Do you have like a system or something that you follow? Like, you know what, when I show up, this is what I do. I hit the gym first, or I make sure I eat this kind of thing, or is it just like, hey, whatever?
Yeah, no, to be brutally honest, this is a bit of both. But I would say traveling to the US is my favorite because the jet lag kicks in the right manner. So I always get up super early because of the differences in hours. So 5 a.m. you can find me out there running and do my kind of exercises. 6 o'clock back, eating my breakfast, fresh and ready for starting the day. So I actually love that part. At least it lasts for about a week, and I usually go for a week travel. I'm also trying to eat very healthy. I think that is probably the biggest challenge traveling, is to kind of get some really proper good food. Yeah. And also be a bit relaxed on the alcohol, I would say, is
it's funny because the people think, oh, you go business travel, you can eat all these nice restaurants. Eating in a nice restaurant doesn't mean healthy food. Exactly. And especially if you're eating, for me, if I eat like 3 hours or less before I want to go to bed, forget about it. I've just messed up my sleep now, right? So I want to eat an early dinner. I want something small. But you go to a business dinner and we get a bottle of wine and we get this, and then in the wait staff in America, because they're tip oriented, they're tenacious. They're like, oh, but you got to have the appetizers and you got to have the desserts and what about your espresso and your whatever? Like, no, stop. But anyway, well, hey, Egil, it was very nice talking with you, man. And I learned a lot, and congratulations on the success of Unleash and your platform. Jeff, just thank you so much for being on the Grow Fast podcast.
And thanks for having me. It was a great pleasure to meet you.
Cheers, man.